Hello everyone, Hachadino over here, and today we are going to do another WoW video. And remember to like and subscribe and whatever it is. I have to say that again because no one is doing it. Uh, Soon we are going to say goodbye to the War Within shit. It was very cool, but that is not the case of today. Today we are going to be talking about the article that was in Wowhead. Thanks to our wonderful writers, Whisper, Guy, and Fu. They have been getting information on things for midnight. They're going to talk about things that are happening in beta and things that we kind of want to happen. I'm not going to go into assassination on Outlaw because, as you might expect, I haven't played it in beta, so I don't have any opinions. But for Sublety, we have quite a bit of things to say. Now, first of all, let me say that there's a reason I haven't been making many videos about Sublety. And that is because since I did the last videos about the bugs and things, nothing has been fixed. Well, there's also one thing with the APL coming on together and things, but that's also for the future because it's very raw right now and there is not much things that we might do. While there are still big bugs, as you might see now. What is the problem? So, wish list, as you can see here, this is kind of things that they want to happen. I would put bug fixes a little bit higher than haste integration because if you haven't played sub in the beta, they changed a lot of things, made flat flagellation disappear, made dance kind of a static cooldown, but not really because of two things, and also secret technique is kind of taking more of a backseat. It's still going to be doing decent damage, but also has some haste scaling for some reason. And the time that we have on the tree is completely useless. Uh, I do hope that it's a placeholder, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be, so we are just going to ignore it. If you don't know which talent it is, it's this one, Improved Secret Technique. They can buff it like, if they triple it, maybe it's kind of decent. Let's just say that. Now, our Apex things, we are not going to talk much about them at the beginning, but afterwards we are going to talk about the bugs and things like that. Now, better hasty integration is going to explain it very well. So let's go into everything. First, many talents lead to bad gameplay or don't synergize with the updated design. The updated design is that we will have dance, two charges of it, so we can still kind of move things around a little bit. But the problem that we have is with secret technique. We still want to use this in Shadow Dance, and we also want to supercharge it. If you don't know what supercharge it is, this talent makes it so our finisher consumes, let's say, it's 2 combo points more, and then with that extra talent with force induction, it's 3 more. So instead of a 7 combo point secret technique, we will be using a 10 combo point one. Kind of important because it's like 40% extra damage. Before it was with Symbols of Death, now it is with Shadow Dance. Deathstalker's Mark is still very annoying. We are going to be talking about it a little bit. They made it even worse. So if you thought it was bad, wait until you see how it is in midnight. Dark Knight doesn't work with Black Powder. Trickster actually went out of their way to make things way simpler. Basically, you are going to be using Black Powder in AoE situations, and if you have coops, you are still going to be using them inside dance, but eviscerates are not going to be used in the general rotation because Nimble Flurry doesn't make them flurry anymore. The technique does not line up naturally with Shadow Dance. That's because it has a higher cooldown baseline. You can see it over here, but it's like 30 seconds and then you can make it go lower. But Shadow Dance is 20 seconds. So it kind of, you will need a lot of haste or use it mid dance and then wait a little bit. And then you also have haste procs and haste trinkets that you want to use to make things change a little bit. And now As you can see here, there are a lot of talents outside mentioned that which haven't seen play in a long time, and they won't see play in a long time unless they change them a lot. We can add to this one a very big contender for worst talent change that I have ever seen. Basically, you had a talent that gave you damage, and now you have to crit, and it's less damage. So, well, as you might expect, the talent is very bad. Finality now is a talent that we kind of avoid. It's very sad because actually, Dark Brew is not such a bad talent, but those 2 points are very, very bad. Same thing with First Dance. First Dance, you need to be 6 seconds out of combat. They did fix it, so it's not that weird 9 second thing that we had for a while. And you also kind of could cheat it sometimes, but most of the time it is kind of worth it to get those 3 extra seconds. It was 4, now it's 3. It's a good Mythic Plus talent, and in single target, we may not take it anymore because some talents are kind of better now with all of the clone things that are going to happen with our Apex talents. But now, let's get into the bug situation. Now, there are a lot of bugs. The Elim and some people have put some of the bugs over here. You can kind of take a screenshot or look at them. There's also on the Rogue Discord a command that you can use exclamation mark bugs, and you can see this. And a lot of things, very annoying. But let's go into the one that go into the big problem that we are going to have right now if they don't fix them. Shadow Blades should double your combo point generation with your builders, but it does nothing. We did a snoop into the data changes that they did, and it should have been 2x on combo points, and it's 2%. It is very, very likely that they have already fixed this in their internal builds, that they still haven't merged into the beta or into the PTR. They have now two different branches that they are updating separately. So maybe this one it's already going into the release version because it's going into next week. So it's very likely that the release version is already done and they are just doing QA and other things, so it doesn't crash everything. But it's still very annoying, and if you try and play in beta and you pop Shadow Blades, you will notice very fast that your combo point generation is not as it should be. The Ancient Arts should increase all clone damage, but it doesn't interact with Secret Technique clones, and of course does not trigger the Shadowcraft bonus. Now, if you don't know, the new Shadowcraft, what it does is that while Shadow Dance is active, our Shadow Techniques proc more frequently, and when we proc them, we get this one additional combo point store. So instead of getting one, we are going to get two. And ideally, when we press Secret Technique, we should get 4, because it will get 2 for 2 clones, and then it get doubled from Shadowcraft, so we would get 4, like we had in the Dragonflight, if anyone played that tier set with the clone thingies. But we are not getting that. We are getting basically 0 effect, and also Apex doesn't work well with Secret Technique. It only has a copy that procs on the physical hit, but as you know, it's less than half of the damage. So you don't want to proc Apex with Secret Technique right now. Coup de Grace is still a 1.2 global cooldown. This is very annoying in the way of how Deepening Shadow works, making it of sometimes if you have those 0.3, 0.6, 0 point something extra seconds of your dance, or maybe even 1 point something, and you are Trickster, you are still getting the same number of globals because of how annoying it is. And the Stalker's Mark can bug out on certain encounter mechanics. Any boss that goes immune and just stays, and you can hit it but has your mark. Assassination players will have flashbacks and PTSD from this, and Alfred mainly. where your mark stays on the boss and you have to go into other places and you don't have any vanishes and you are a sad person. And even on council, it was very annoying when one boss just decided to disappear and then it had your mark and you are very sad. This happens on any place that actually goes away, and it's even more annoying as sub because now if you have a mark on a target or if you have Darkest Night, you can't put a new mark. You know where this goes, right? So usually sub didn't have this problem, but because you could use Shadow Strike a target and you put a new mark, but that doesn't happen anymore. So this is very annoying. Also, a lot of bugs, as you might expect, with Darkest Night still, and also with the Eviscerates and Shadow with finishers, and also copies, not doing Shadow with finishers anyway. Well, kind of a, let's say, a little disaster in the combo point situation. There have been some kind of playtests that we have done, and we can lose up to 30% of our combo point generation overall just from all of these Apex bugs, and also from the Shadow Blade and Shadowcraft problems that we have. Because remember, every time we are using Circuit Technique, we are losing 4 combo points that we get, and those four combo points could proc an Apex, that could proc copies, that give more shadow techniques, that make it so we can do more finishers, that proc copies, etc., etc. You know how it goes, right? Now, this is some things that are true. It simplifies sublety. It removes buttons. We don't have rupture anymore. We don't have flagellation anymore. Symbols of death is something that we don't really think about much anymore. It just gives us energy and works it so it gives us a little bit more of an attack speed buff when warning signs. But it doesn't do much more. It's kind of simple. If you are a player that has never played sub and you see the buttons, you say, okay, you use this with this and this with this. You just copy the talent tree from anywhere and maybe watch one of my guides or read one of those, and you are kind of good to go and not do completely horrible. Now, of course, this is in a super patchwork fight. It will always come down to knowing when to use your cooldowns in real fights, but that's another thing. Now, Nimble Flurry has been changed. As you can see, now only your auto attacks, unseen blades, and coup are going to cleave. It's of course going to be stronger, but this makes it very, very easy to think as a trickster rogue. You are going to be using black powder when there is more than one target. You are going to be using eviscerate where there is one target, and when you have coup de grace ready, you are going to be using coup de grace. Nothing strange, nothing hard to know, nothing all of the questions. When do I use black powder in any situation? Now the solution is always, if there are 2 targets, you use black powder. If there is 1 target, you use eviscerate. If you have your proc, you use it. Now for AoE in Deathstalker, there are a lot of things that we kind of will talk about in the future. But as you can see, it's more simple. Simple, streamlined. You use your things when you have them. But now there is a little bit of a problem. Complications. Complications because Secret Technique now it's 30 seconds and Shadow Dance is 20 seconds. These are things that you still want to align, and you would think, oh, okay, I just gear some haste and then I can use Secret Technique earlier, right? But it's not that easy, because if you use things like trinket procs or items that proc haste or weapon enchants or passive trinkets, your secret technique cooldown can go lower and you can dance with that secret technique earlier. If you do this, it works anyway because of how it is. And then now, of course, our dream would be that if we had something like Shot in the Dark, if you don't know how it is, you have a normal chip shot cooldown. And then if you press Shadow Dance or Vanish, you get like an extra charge. Think about when an evoker uses Time Spiral, that if you don't have your mobility cooldown ready, you get an extra charge. And then when you use that, the other charge is still on cooldown. But if you have it ready, you can use it twice. This is going to be very good if it worked on the ones that we use cooldowns. Because remember, now Shadow Blaze is 16 seconds. And with the tier set, it lasts 4 seconds longer, so it's 20. And our Shadow Dances last 6 seconds if you use Haste Trinket or something like that that we may want to use as an unused. They're going to last like 8 and something. And if you have some haste from your gear, they're going to last like 9 seconds or maybe 10 to solve those. And then we could have 2 secret techniques on those 20 seconds. But that way we are going to be using haste things. But also there's a problem with the Deathstalker's Mark. And as you can say, the application limit is extremely punishing when switching targets. Before, as a sublety rogue, if you had like 2 Deathstalker's Mark charges on one target and you strike another, you got the 3 of those Deathstalker's Mark on that target. You did get a Witness proc, but that doesn't exist anymore. Witness is just extra damage on your Storm. That's also another thing that I didn't think that it was important to talk about, but another thing about the AoE rotation is that if there are like 2 targets or 3, you are going to be using a Storm instead of Strike. That was not true for a long while, but now it's true because Storm does quite a bit of damage. Now, as you can see, Fu does prefer the old implementation. We could use the Shadow Strike to move our mark if we need it. This made even if it was a little bit more rigid or we lost some damage on the other target that we had. Like if we had one mark and it was going to be kind of easy to pop it, but we had low energy or something like that, and we wanted to change to another, we could just not use the finisher, or you can hold Dark Knight and just use it on the next target. The problem here is Dark Knight only works with Eviscerate, making it so it's actually not relevant on AoE. They did try to solve this somehow with mass casualty, but it's still not enough. They would need to, once again, double or triple this. For sublety, of course. For assassination, I don't think it has that problem because they already use their Envenom as a kind of a vehicle for a lot of things. And then, as Fu has said, this is kind of not destroying everything, but making a new baseline. A new baseline where you don't have as many buttons. Your cooldowns are kind of, let's say, easy to know what they do and if you want to use them together. And as always, I think it's just unfinished. It needed more time, it needed more iteration. We basically got some changes in mid December and now it's mid January, and it's not a complete experience. You don't have your time when you say, I'm going to do a lot of damage. Here you're going to be using Shadow Blades and 2 dances, and your Eviscerate and secret techniques and things are going to be doing quite a bit of damage, but here you're going to get longer dances when you use your own use or something like that. It's not that cool. Now, this is true. This focused rotation can be appealing for people, but it is removing some agency. Of course, we are still going to be having our cooldowns spreadsheets. We love those. We won't have any that are super complicated, of course, with like double uses and things like that. But it's still a very cool thing that we have thought, and we always find some cool things. I already have some cooks that I want to check if they are actually a wins, but this is something that won't happen for long. Like backstabbing for 20 seconds to get one proc into your cooldowns. Well, that's everything. I hope you enjoyed this. It's not a long thing to read. If you want to read them, the whole thing I'm going to post in the description. I have a lot more thoughts about the cooldowns and things, but you will see that actually maybe in the Prepatch guide that I will do. There won't be a lot of things that I will talk about in rotations and things because those are quite simple. But we are going to explain the talents for the people that haven't seen them and how they work together and why we choose why we choose. So that's everything. Have a nice day, and I will see you on the next video.